This is lesson 76. We're going to talk about consecutive integers. And so before we start, we're going to come up with some expressions to represent these ideas. So what is the integer that is 1 bigger than n? Well, you would just add 1 to n, so you would have n plus 1. What's the integer that's 2 bigger than n? Well, that would just be adding 2 to n, so it would be n plus 2. And the title of the lesson is the answer for this one. We call integers that are 1 unit apart, we call them consecutive. Consecutive means in a row, integers. Like 1, 2, 3 would be consecutive integers. So for the first example, we're going to find 3 consecutive integers such that the sum of the first and the third is 146. So the strategy to solve this problem, first we're going to write the integers. So the answer that we're looking for is going to be n. So that will be the first integer. The one that's 1 bigger than n would be n plus 1. And the one that's 2 bigger than that would be n plus 2. So these are 3 consecutive integers, n plus 1, n plus 2. I'll put them in parentheses here. So the equation that I'm looking for, we have to set it up. 3 consecutive integers such that the sum of the first and the third. So I'm going to take the first one and the third one and find the sum. So I have n plus 2, and that equals 146. Now all I have to do is solve this equation, add like terms. I get 2n equals 144, and dividing by 2, I get n equals 72. So 72 is my answer, but the question was to find 3 consecutive integers. So 72 is the first one. The next one is 72 plus 1, which is 73, and the other one would be 74. So these are the 3 consecutive integers that meet this criteria. Let's do another example. This time we're asked to find 3 consecutive integers such that twice the sum of the first 2 is 2 less than 3 times the third. This one's a little more complicated, but let's try it. We have 3 consecutive integers, so again I have n plus 1, and I have n plus 2. So take a moment and pause the video and try to come up with the equation that matches with this situation. So here's the equation that matches with this problem. We have twice the sum of the first 2. So I add the first 2, which is n plus 1, and I multiply that whole expression by 2. So that's twice the sum. And then I have 3 times the third, which is 3 times n plus 2. And the first, it's 2 less than 3 times n plus 2. So now all we have to do is solve this equation. So we have 2n plus 2n plus 2 equals 3n plus 6 minus 2. So go ahead and try to solve this on your own. Pause the video. So when we solve this equation, we get n equals 2. And so that means that the 3 consecutive integers, if n is 2, then the 3 consecutive integers are 2, 3, and 4. All right, let's do one last example here. So this time, we are asked to find 4 consecutive integers such that 6 times the sum of the first and fourth is 26 less than 10 times the third. So we have the 6, 26, and 10. All right, so the integers, this time we have 4 of them. So we have n plus 1, n plus 2, and n plus 3 as our 4 consecutive integers. So the equation, we just have to set it up. So go ahead and try to set it up on your own, please. So if you set up the equation correctly, you would have 6 times the sum of the first and the fourth, so 6 times n is the first and n plus 3 is the fourth, is 26 less, so I have negative 26 on the other side, than 10 times the third. So I have this equation. Now all I have to do is distribute, combine like terms, and solve for n. So go ahead and try that on your own as well. And so if you solve this equation correctly, you should get n equals negative 12. And so since the question is asking for the 4 consecutive integers, we're going to start with negative 12, and then we're going to go upward consecutively, so negative 12. And then the next highest number would be negative 11, and negative 10, and negative 9 would be our 4 consecutive integers.